What's going on, everybody? Robert back with another video for you guys, and today we're going to be talking about autonomous trucks and what it means for the industry, and especially this article that came out about a week and a half ago about Pilot partnering with Kodiak Robotics to open up a hub in Atlanta for all of their autonomous trucks, guys. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. You guys don't want to miss this.
These people from the future are showing up and offering to do the same work for next to nothing. They took our jobs. Yeah, they took our jobs.
All right, guys, autonomous trucks. That's what we're gonna be talking about today. Remember, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of your screen. Turn on those bell notifications so that you guys will get notified every single time that I put content out. So this article had came up about a week and a half ago, and pretty interesting, guys. So basically in the article, one I looked at was on FreightWaves, and in the article it talks about Kodiak Robotics, which is a self-driving trucking technology company, I guess you could say. Basically what they do is they innovate for self-driving trucks, and they just opened up a hub in Villa Rica, Georgia, which is right outside of Atlanta on the I-20. This is gonna be like the west side of Atlanta. Now, if you guys don't know, Kodiak Robotics is a company that was founded by Don Burnett and Paz, I think he's how you say his name, Paz Ashel. These guys basically work on developing technology for autonomous trucks. And Pilot Flying J just invested into them last year. And not only making an investment into Kodiak Robotics, they're actually letting them use their truck stops as hubs and letting them set up infrastructure in the Pilot Flying J's, guys. That's what's going on with this company. Pilot Flying J own over 800 locations in the US and Canada. They have a major footprint all over the place. Now, digging into Kodiak's website, I found that they can pretty much install or integrate any newer semi-truck to be self-driving. So I'm just guessing that their system would then integrate into any newer truck and something like that. But anyway, I also saw from their website that some trucking companies are already working with Kodiak Robotics, and you guys have probably heard of these companies before. And these four companies are going to be Warner Express, US Express, Inroads Express, and Siva. Now, I did a dive into the Kodiak website, like I said before, and it seems like they are trying to focus on the expedited freight market. If you guys don't know what expedited freight market is, basically if you got something that needs to be somewhere very quickly, that's expedited freight. And guys, that includes airplanes. So it seems like this company is trying to compete with airplanes. That's what I'm guessing. So, I mean, if they're trying to compete with in the expedited freight market, this includes air freight. I guess I could see how that's possible, because I mean, airplanes are expensive. You got to think, you got to pay pilots, you got to load the plane. I don't know. I guess it's possible. We'll see though. But that's something that they're trying to do. They're kind of trying to compete in the expedited freight market. But one thing that I'm curious about is really seeing how long it would take their system to actually move freight across the US. Like, let's say from Los Angeles to New York or Los Angeles to Atlanta. I'd like to see how much faster they would be compared to airplanes or air freight. I don't see how that's a thing. I mean, you could literally move from Los Angeles to Atlanta in probably like 3 or 4 hours by air. It'd probably take a semi truck, what, 2-3 days without stopping, maybe 2 days. I just don't know, man. We'll see how it goes though. I'd like to see how fast they can move freight and how they would compete in there. I could see how they could compete as far as the price goes, but something that we'll have to see in the future, guys. I don't know. Now, going back to this terminal in Atlanta, this one that they just pretty much opened up or said they're going up, I think it's up and running now. Basically, they have a hub in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and which is their main terminal. This is just to move freight from Dallas-Fort Worth to Atlanta. It's just that 800-mile stretch or so. Now, looking at an excerpt that I read on FreightWaves, this is what the excerpt says about this truck port. All right, so guys, it says, the truck port will be used by Kodiak to launch and land its autonomous trucks and serve as a hub for drivers to pick up and drop off loads for first and last mile deliveries. This location will support the Kodiak autonomous freight lane between Dallas and Atlanta and will complement the company's Dallas-Fort Worth hub, which is the main terminal. So like I said before, it seems like this is just a hub literally to move freight between these two cities, Dallas and Atlanta. Now, Don Burnett said, which is the CEO of this company and one of the founders, basically this hub in Atlanta would help out with light maintenance on these autonomous trucks and basically act as a drop yard, so to speak, for trailers. So basically you'd run it out with an autonomous truck from Dallas to Atlanta. They drop the trailer, a load local driver would then have to pick that trailer up and then deliver it and bring an empty back or loaded trailer or whatever it was, and then an autonomous truck would then scoot on back to Dallas. So guys, there goes all of our parking at the Villa Rica Georgia Pilot Flying J. So I don't think, I wonder how that's going to work, man. You got all these autonomous trucks going in and out. That's going to take up a lot of space there. A lot of, that's going to be a big footprint, I think, for just the infrastructure there. So there goes our parking spots there, guys, in Georgia. But now, just reading the article off FreightWaves and then also some other websites that I saw, this seems like this is just the beginning of just trying to input infrastructure in for these autonomous trucks with Kodiak. I think this is just like the first of many hubs that are going to go in for Kodiak. They even said, you know, they're looking at expanding more hubs all over the country. And we know that Pilot Flying J is massive. They're a massive company with a large footprint in the United States and Canada. So for Kodiak that is looking to put infrastructure in for these autonomous trucks, I can see it, man. I really can. I can see how, you know, Pilot's invested in them, so they're wanting them to succeed on this, man. And we all know who owns Pilot now. You know, it's Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway. So I mean, them guys have deep pockets. This seems like it's gonna happen. I think this is happening, guys. My best bet for this, and I'm just speculating here, is that they would probably put these terminals like 800 miles apart, pretty much all over the country. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking in like major cities where they get a lot of freight traffic, probably Chicago. You might see one go up in Chicago. You're definitely gonna see one going up in Los Angeles. That's just a given. That's like the West Coast freight market there. I can definitely see one going there. Phoenix, Arizona is another one where a lot of freight goes into. I can definitely see that happening. Now, apparently the goal for Kodiak Robotics and Pilot is to cut the cost for transporting goods, and that means taking away long haul loads from drivers. And they said that it's supposed to allow truckers to be closer to home, be closer to their home terminals, pretty much work locally. Now guys, don't get me wrong, trucking is a hard career. It's definitely hard being away from your family for a long time, but I am very concerned on how profitable the trucking industry will become with having these autonomous trucks on the road. So now you're going to cut costs on freight, hauling freight. They have drivers work locally. I don't see how that's going to be profitable in the trucking industry anymore if that was to happen. Now guys, if your goal is to cut costs on freight's already at a low right now. It's already extremely low. I mean, we're seeing rates $1.50. I mean, it's like you guys want to cut those even more. Now, don't get me wrong, it's obviously autonomous trucks are going to be hauling this freight, but I promise you guys, do not be naive. If they start doing this on a massive scale, it's definitely going to cut into regular trucking for you guys. I promise you that. You guys are just kidding yourself if you guys think that these autonomous vehicles are not going to factor into the future freight market. Now, they say they want to keep the driver locally, all right? They want to spend more time with their family, and yeah, it's cool, spend more time with your family and stuff like that, but that's not why we're in the trucking industry. We're in the trucking industry basically for the money. And I don't see how this is going to work, because basically you're hauling cheap freight, right, with autonomous vehicles. Now when it gets to wherever it needs to go, there's only so much meat on the bones, guys. There's not really much left over to pay a driver and still be profitable as a company. Now, are they going to be able to pay a driver 25 bucks an hour? Are we looking at like, you know, 12, 15 bucks an hour to go pick up freight? You know what I mean? This is some questions that need to be asked, you know, and how is this all going to work? How am I going to be profitable? How am I going to feed my family in the trucking industry anymore? And you got to think, there are 3.5 million truck drivers in the United States. So are they expecting all 3.5 million of us to go locally? Are they wanting us to push us into our local markets? So we all know how that's going to go. You're going to have too many drivers locally. It's going to push wages down. You might even see a lot of drivers getting out of the industry completely, moving on to something different. I just don't think that there's going to be that much work for 3.5 million drivers to just run locally. Now they say that, you know, they want drivers to be closer to home, but I know how this game works, guys. We're in the trucking industry to make money. Like I said, you know, that's my main goal. That's my main motivation for being a truck driver, is because of how great the industry has made my life. And, you know, I'm able to buy a house, you know, a very nice house in a very nice neighborhood. My kids are able to go to very good schools, and I'm able to save and invest in my future. And that's the reason why I got into trucking. These autonomous trucks are coming in, and I think it's happening faster than what we thought it was going to happen in the past. You know, the big question was, how are they going to have the infrastructure, right? Autonomous trucks, yeah, cool. We could put autonomous trucks on the road all day long, but they don't have the infrastructure, right? That was a question we had before in the past, but now it seems like, you know, partnering with Pilot, and Pilot was the first one to pull the trigger on this, man. Seems like they kind of turned their backs on us, to be honest with you. At least that's how I feel. Having Pilot now, they have their hubs, they have their truck stops, they can put the infrastructure in. Depends on how much money they're able to spend. I mean, there it is, guys. There's the infrastructure. You know, that's one of my arguments before why it wouldn't work, the infrastructure thing. And, you know, Pilot's giving them the opportunity to add infrastructure for these autonomous trucks. So we'll see what happens in the future, guys. I believe it's going to be quite a while before they actually can put in all the infrastructure for all of these autonomous trucks. I think it's going to be more or less trying to figure it out. I believe the next thing that we're going to have is probably terminal in Phoenix, probably one in LA. That would be my guess, just to try to move freight out west from like Dallas. The next thing that we're going to see is probably Amazon or Walmart, which I think those companies have a lot of capital. If they're willing to invest in this autonomous thing, to where they would have autonomous truck literally go from like Amazon hub to Amazon hub, or Walmart hub to another Walmart hub. So I believe that's the next big move for maybe like on a customer basis, like a shipper or a receiver. It would probably be like an Amazon or a Walmart, where we would be seeing like an autonomous truck technology company like Kodiak Robotics, where they can have autonomous trucks, bring product in and bring product out. So I think it's going to end up going that way. Another thing that you have to realize is that a lot of this technology is not good for, like, say, mountain driving. If you go up through Colorado down the I-70, I don't think the autonomous truck technology is good enough to actually deal with those conditions. And also like blizzards, snowstorms, you know, heavy rain. Is it going to be able to perform like it's doing between Dallas and Atlanta? If you guys don't know, Dallas and Atlanta is a pretty flat, or it should say relatively flat area to drive in. It's pretty easy to drive in that area. So I could see why they're having so much success, but we'll start to see a little bit more as they start going up north and seeing how this technology actually plays out. We saw with Too Simple, they had that truck crash and all the investors ended up suing the company. They pretty much closed shop, man. We don't know if they're going over to China or what they're doing. That's kind of a serious thing that people need to realize, that, you know, the best truck drivers are actually human truck drivers. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what goes on with this thing, guys. But I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on this topic, autonomous trucks. Do you think they're a good thing, a bad thing? What you guys think? How are they going to affect the market? Which is the major thing here. Is trucking pretty much a dead industry after this all takes hold? Is there going to be any profit for truck drivers like us, human truck drivers? Or is it all going to go autonomous? You guys let me know down in the comments section what your guys' thoughts on this, and what do you guys think about Pilot partnering with Kodiak to set up this terminal in Atlanta? And seems like they're going to be setting up more terminals, guys, so be prepared for that. Anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screens. Turn on those bell notifications so that you guys will get notified every single time that I put content out. But until next time, keep it between the ditches.